11th May, 1965. After having translated the line from Savitri, previously I used to translate 3 or 4 lines every day, sometimes less, sometimes more, and it used to go very fast. But now, laughing, I have no time left for anything. It's traditional or agreed upon that I must take something in the afternoon to make a break between morning and evening. I never have the time. Those who are supposed to leave at 4 o'clock leave at 4:45. 12th June, 1965. The translation of Savitri, the debate of love and death. The mother reads the text. Aha! What a joker! Then will I give thee all thy soul desires. He's a joker. All the brief joys earth keeps for mortal hearts. But I don't want them. He's a real joker. And what happens to him? My will once wrought remains unchanged through time. Oh, that's what you think. And Satyavan can never again be thine. Not true, old chap. Then will I give thee all thy soul desires. The soul doesn't desire anything. It's easy to say, I will give thee all thy soul desires. The soul desires nothing. So he doesn't commit himself too much. He's a joker. He has made him quite a joker. 14th June, 1965. My will, once wrought, remains unchanged through time, and Satyavan can never again be thine. He made him a bit stupid, because even if Satyavan doesn't come back in this body, what prevents him from taking another? He's bragging. And Savitri, or the voice, afterward tells him, you remember, we'll keep you all the same. We still need you for a while. When he has been beaten hollow, when he is finished, she tells him, we'll still keep you because we still need you. Don't you remember? I have given thee thy awful shape of dread, and thy sharp sword of terror and grief and pain, to force the soul of man to struggle for light. Thou art his spur to greatness in his works, the whip to his yearning for eternal bliss, his poignant need of immortality. Live, death, a while. Be still my instrument. A nice gift. Oh, it is true that in many cases it's indispensable. It was, certainly more than 50 years ago, because I had already come upon the cosmic, Theon's teaching, and the inner divine presence, and I knew that the new creation would be a creation of immortality. I immediately felt it was true, that it was a way of expressing something true. So then, when I read that, I thought, here's how people make everything topsy-turvy, head and feet upside down. And I pondered for a long, long time over the problem. How to bring this to the true position. And I set to work. Already at the time, I used to practice adopting that standpoint, looking at things from that standpoint, understanding how that standpoint could exist. And those two things made me ponder the will to die and what that man considered to be perfect love. Two idiotic things. But I discovered what was true in it. That's what was interesting. I tried and tried to find, and suddenly I felt that aspiration towards the immutable peace. Well, it was upside down. Only immutable peace can give you eternal existence. There, it was all upside down. The idea was to cease existence in order to find immutable peace. But it's immutable peace one is after, and that's what compels the cessation of existence in order to allow the transformation to take place. And love, which is unconditioned, it doesn't depend on whether you are loved or not, whether you are intelligent or not, whether you are wicked or not. That goes without saying. But it was put in a ridiculous way. But it goes without saying, love is unconditioned. Otherwise, it isn't love. It's what I call bargaining. I give you my affection, so you give me yours. I am nice to you, so you are nice to me. That's how people understand it. But it's stupid. It's meaningless. That's something I understood when I was quite small. I used to say, no, you may wish others to be nice to you if you are nice to them, but that has nothing to do with love. No, nothing, absolutely nothing. The very essence of love is unconditioned. 7th July, 1965. Is he going on? What does he offer Savitri? Daughters, sons. Oh, he is base, laughing, base with vulgarity. Daughters of thy own shape in heart and mind, fair hero sons and sweetness undisturbed. See that joy? Oh, how vulgar that being is. Can there really be people who are tempted by this? I think Sri Aurobindo deliberately made this death very vulgar to discourage all the illusionists and nirvanists. But even when I was quite small, 5 years old, it seemed to me commonplace. While if I had been told, let there be no more cruelty in the world, there is something I would have found worthwhile. Let there be no more injustice. Let there be no more suffering because of people's wickedness. There is something one can dedicate oneself to. But producing daughters and sons, I have never felt physically very maternal. There are millions and millions who do that. So do it again? No, truly, that's not what one is born for. 21st July, 1965. He, Sri Aurobindo, said he wanted to redo all this passage, but he never did it. And when he was asked, I don't know if it was Nirod or Purani who asked him, he said, no, later. It was Nirod. And he knew very well that there was no later. At the time, he already knew it. No, later. I don't know. 24th July, 1965. And from the universal standpoint, it is this inertia, this unconsciousness, that made the existence of death necessary. The existence of death. 7th August, 1965. Material mind. It had learned to keep silent and act. To keep silent and act. Oh, it was lovely. Every time I express it, it recedes farther into the past. I think we should take up Savitri. It followed a long curve. 8th September, 1965. The great stars burn with my unceasing fire, and life and death are both its fuel made. Life only was my blind attempt to love. Earth saw my struggle, heaven my victory. She says, life and death are the fuel then. In my blind attempt, life only was my attempt to love. The mother later stressed again, it's not life was only, but life only. Because my attempt to love was blind, I limited it to life, but I won the victory in death. It's very interesting. Earth saw my struggle, heaven my victory. Yet, earth should see the victory. The victory should be on earth, shouldn't it? Yes, but she couldn't win the victory on earth because she lacked heaven. She couldn't win the victory in life because she lacked death. And she had to conquer death in order to conquer life. That's the idea. Unless we conquer death, the victory isn't won. Death must be vanquished. There must be no more death. That's very clear. According to what he says here, it is the principle of love that is transformed into flame and finally into light. It isn't the principle of light that is transformed into flame when it materializes. It's the flame that is transformed into light. The great stars give light because they burn. They burn because they are under the effect of love. Love would be the original principle. That seems to be what he is saying. I didn't remember this passage, but I told you my experience, the experience of the great pulsations of divine love in April 1962, is that the last thing as one rises, the last thing beyond light, beyond consciousness, beyond the last thing one reaches is love. One. This one is. It's the I. I don't know. According to the experience, it's the last thing to manifest now in its purity. And it is the one that has the transforming power. That's what he appears to be saying here. The victory of love seems to be the final victory. He said, Savitri, a legend and a symbol. It's he who made it a symbol. It's the story of the encounter of Savitri, the principle of love, with death. And it's over death that she won the victory, not in life. She could not win the victory in life without winning the victory over death. I didn't know it was put so clearly here. I had read it, but only once. It's very interesting how many times I have seen that he had written down my experiences. You see, there are lots of things that I had said while speaking to people, that I had said just like that, because they came, gesture from above. And I would say to them, and I realized he had written them. So naturally, I appeared to be simply repeating what he had written. But I had never read it. And now it's the same thing. I had read this passage from Savitri, but hadn't noticed it because I hadn't had the experience. But now that I have had the experience, I see that he tells it. It's quite interesting. Maybe we'll have to reread Savitri. In fact, if we wanted to be really good, we would try to translate the whole of Savitri, wouldn't we? What we are doing now with the end, Book 10, we would do with all the rest. There is a part I tried to translate all alone, but it would be fun to do it together. We could try, not for publication, because there is immediately a debasing. Everything that is published is debased. Otherwise, people don't understand. We would do it for ourselves. But it's very interesting. Just the other day, I noted something down on the subject. Very rare and exceptional are the beings who can understand and feel divine love, because divine love is free of attachment and of the need to please the object loved. That was a discovery. That's why people don't understand. For them, love is so much like this. The mother intertwines the fingers of her two hands, that they cannot even feel or believe that they have love, that they love, if there isn't an attachment like this, same gesture. And necessarily the consequence of attachment is the will, the desire, the need to please the object of one's love. If you take away the attachment and the need to please, people scratch their heads and wonder if they love. And it's only when you take away those two things that divine love begins. 13th October, 1965. There is a line in Savitri which freely translated is, "Annul thyself that only God may be." A very free translation, but the idea is there, and that's the state in which that can exist. And it is evident that the body doesn't dissolve. It's here, isn't it? You can see it. And it is the the only infallible way to establish harmony in this body. This smile of the presence. All the rest, all the precautions, all the remedies, all that seems so futile and so inadequate. And take that again. And it is the only infallible way to establish harmony in the body. This smile of the presence. All the rest, all the precautions, all the remedies, all that seems so futile and so inadequate. The only way for everything. I do not have proof of the construction of something that had disappeared, that had been amputated or broken. I can't say, but logically it's the same thing. 30th November, 1965. The mother takes up the translation of Savitri. Imagining meanings in life's heavy drift, they trusted in the uncertain environment and waited for death to change their spirit scene. Yes, those are the people who are hoping to go to a beatific heaven. The entire West is convinced, of course, that the earth has to be taken as it is, and that it's a preparation for a life in another world, which, according to your faults or qualities, will be a heaven or a hell. But anyway, doing away with hell, all those who have goodwill will go to a beatific heaven. It's a weird invention, isn't it? Anyway. But there is an accumulation, an extraordinary compactness of knowledge in this whole Savitri. At every turn, there is nothing that's void of knowledge. It's truly interesting.